Hello everyone, I welcome you all to StudyIQ. My name is Prashant Dhawan and in this video we shall analyze the recent Supreme Court verdict on Khap Panchayats. So a lot to know, a lot to discuss, but before that, if you are a new viewer, then I would like to tell you guys about StudyIQ's pen drive and tablet courses. Our courses are available for various exams like SSC, Bank, RBI Grade B, UPSC, Defense, State PCS courses are available as well. So visit studyiq.com or call these numbers over here for more information. Now, before we start discussing the Supreme Court verdict, let's get our basics sorted. What are Khap Panchayats to begin with? Khap Panchayats are basically community groups which at times, not always, but at times act as quasi-judicial bodies and pronounce harsh punishments based on age-old customs. Obviously, in our constitution, there is absolutely no provision of Khap Panchayats acting as quasi-judicial bodies. That is why a lot of people objected to the role of Khap Panchayats in the rural society. There have been several cases of women and men falling victim to Khap Diktats, and there have been reports of this over the years. Khap Panchayats are mainly active in northern states like Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan, although I must mention that you will find modified version of Khap Panchayat in almost every state of India, but of course they don't really wield as much as influence as they do in the northern states. So how does the Supreme Court come into the picture? What happened was, in the year 2010, an NGO named Shakti Vahini decided to file a PIL to curb honor crimes. Basically, they wanted to bring the attention of the Honorable Supreme Court on the increasing cases of honor crimes in the country. A PIL is a public interest litigation. Alright, public interest litigation is directly filed by an individual or a group of people in the Supreme Court if they believe that there is a certain topic that the Supreme Court should focus on because it will be in the interest of the public. You, the listener, you can file a PIL, a group can file it, pretty much everyone can file it, and a lot of people do file PILs. So the PIL was filed in 2010 to curb honor crimes. So after the PIL was filed in the year 2010, Supreme Court took 8 years to deliver the verdict on honor crimes, and Supreme Court finally, in the recent verdict delivered in February of 2018, upheld the choice of consenting adults to love and marry as part of their fundamental rights. So if a couple marries and they aren't really of the same caste, or they are of the same gotra, or they belong to different religions, and or whatever the case may be, if their marriage is a bit unorthodox, it's something that people don't really see in the society, it does not mean that some group or some individual can separate this couple. Alright, if two adults are consenting, they want to stay together, they want to marry each other, then it is part of their fundamental rights to do so. It doesn't really matter whether they are from the same gotra. So this is what Supreme Court said in February. Now this is what Supreme Court said in February of 2018. After that, in March of 2018, Supreme Court added that it will provide a list of guidelines for the state and the police to make sure that if a couple marries within their same gotra, or they are from different castes, different religions, and there are any indications that they might be harmed, then the state and the police must make sure that these couples should be protected. Of course, the Supreme Court also directed the government to create an act so that these couples can be protected, but until such an act comes to force, Supreme Court has given guidelines, and these guidelines are pretty much as strong as a law. Now, in the observation made by the Honorable Supreme Court, they also highlighted the terror that is inflicted on women, and the Supreme Court also gave a list of actions that trigger honor-based crimes. So over here, these are the list of actions that could result in an honor-based crime. Let's talk about them. Loss of virginity outside marriage. Of course, this implies mostly to women. If they lose their virginity out of their marriage, then chances are that the family might do some kind of a honor-based crime against that woman. And then there is the unapproved relationship tag. If the relationship is not approved by the elders or the community, if the girl and the boy are from different religions or the same gotra or different caste, then of course that can lead to honor-based crimes. In order to protect the honor of the family, quote unquote honor of the family, some honor-based crimes might take place. Then refusing an arranged marriage can also be a trigger to honor-based crimes. If a girl refuses arranged marriage, then of course she can be a victim. Then if she asks for a divorce, or if she demands custody of children after divorce, or even if a girl falls victim to rape, rather than making the men accountable, it is often seen that the women are blamed for wearing jeans, or having mobile phones, or the changing culture. So we have seen that honor-based crimes occur in a very patriarchal structure. So the bench of Justice Deepak Mishra, Justice A.M. Khanwalkar and D.Y. Chandrachud also laid down a slew of measures to protect interfaith and inter-caste marriages generally objected to by the Khap Panchayats. Now, before we start talking about the guidelines that have been laid by the Supreme Court, let's just have a look at the other observations made by the court. This was a very important line. This was in the news a lot when this court observation was being discussed in various news outlets. So it was observed by the Supreme Court that honor killing guillotines individual liberty, freedom of choice, and one's own perception of choice. Now, what do I mean by guillotine? Guillotine basically means to cut something or to chop something in half. If you imagine a scenario where a young rural boy witnesses an honor killing, then obviously he will feel suffocated. He will feel that, do I actually have the choice of finding my own life partner? Or some girl might look at this and think that I do not simply have the liberty to live my life the way I want to, right? So honor killings and honor crimes, basically they guillotine the individual liberty, freedom of choice, and one's own perception of choice. Now, what does guillotine mean? Let me just explain. Guillotine isn't exactly a verb or anything like that. The one thing I admire a lot about Supreme Court judgments is that the kind of language they use is very top notch. So as you can see this over here, this is the guillotine. In 18th century France, when the French Revolution took place, as you know, a lot of peasants ended up butchering a lot of aristocrats and wealthy merchants and businessmen. So in a lot of cases, these guillotines were used in public areas to chop the heads of all the aristocrats. So this is where they got the word from, and it became a rage online. A lot of news outlets started covering this word. So since the liberties and the freedoms of the country, all these things were being guillotined, that's why the court intervened. Now finally, let's talk about the guidelines that have been laid by the Supreme Court of India. First of all, we need to understand is that the reason why such guidelines have been laid by the Supreme Court is because the Supreme Court probably knows that since the election season is very close and there is a lot of ruckus in the parliament, and there can't really be a lot of debates, and passing acts can be a very difficult task. That is why the Supreme Court probably laid down some guidelines, because until the government comes up with an act, at least the couples can be protected. We can protect lives. So this is the intention of the Supreme Court. Another very important fact over here is that a lot of political parties usually have refrained from creating acts that can actually reduce the power of Khap Panchayats, because Khap Panchayats wield a lot of social influence, and taking away their power can result in a loss of votes that no political party would want. So anyway, the Supreme Court over here has intervened, and it has given guidelines so that any couple that is marrying outside of their caste, or marrying within the same gotra, or marrying outside of their religion can be protected. So the state government should identify districts, subdivisions, or villages concerned. Now, these are areas where instances of honor killings or assembly of Khap Panchayats have been reported in the last 5 years. So the court will be focusing on two things. The court wants the states to focus on two things. One, if an area has seen an incident of honor killings, then that area should be kept in vigilance. Secondly, if there have been various assemblies of Khap Panchayats, then the authorities should be very cautious. Now, other than the state government, Supreme Court has laid down a lot of guidelines for the police as well. The officer in charge of the police stations of the identified areas where honor killings have taken place, and we just discussed that, needs to be very cautious. Any instance of inter-caste or inter-religious marriage within their jurisdiction coming to their notice should be taken care of. They should inform to the immediate superior officer Also, the jurisdiction of Deputy Superintendent of Police and Superintendent of Police should be intimated. Now, in order to provide security to all these couples, immediate steps should be taken to provide security to the couple and family. If necessary, steps to move them to a safe house within the same district or elsewhere should be taken as well by the police or the state government. And the district magistrate or the superintendent of police must deal with utmost sensitivity the complaint regarding threat administered. Alright. Then there is also a guideline of safe house. Look, after marriage, if the couple so desire, they can be provided accommodation on payment of nominal charges in a safe house. Of course, the decision would be taken depending on the threat assessment on case to case basis, but either way, safe houses should be now built, or they should be sought after by the authorities so that they can be used for such couples. Now, this would be for a period of 1 month to be extended on monthly basis, but not exceeding 1 year in aggregate. Now, if even after all these precautions, if an honor killing case takes place, the designated court and a fast track court earmarked for the purpose will try criminal cases pertaining to honor killings or violence to the couples. The trial must proceed on day-to-day basis, and it must preferably be concluded within 6 months. This is being done to make sure that there is a message sent that if you indulge in honor crimes or honor killings, then the law will punish you very swiftly. Alright, the case will not linger on for 10 to 15 years. If all this wasn't enough, then there is a lot more. Special cells will be created as well. These special cells should create a 24-hour helpline to receive and register complaints of such troubled couples. And of course, the Khap Panchayats have tried defending themselves by giving this rationale. The Hindu Marriage Act prohibits a union between Sapinda relations or close blood relatives among Hindus. Now, the court easily ridiculed this argument by saying that, look, alright, if there is a provision in the Hindu Marriage Act that prohibits a union between close blooded relatives, then who are you to stop these couples? Alright, you should not intervene. You should not take law in your own hands, right? So this was the observation by the court. We are on a very fundamental issue. Alright, the marriage is between two adults and it is their choice. You cannot take the law into your own hands. Khaps had no business in such a matter. After this, the Supreme Court also observed that when two adults consensually choose each other as their life partners, it is a manifestation of their choice, which is recognized under Article 19 and 20. Now, these two articles, 19 and 21, 21 not 20, these two articles are 2/3 of the golden triangle of the Indian Constitution. You see, the Article 14, 19 and 21 together are considered the golden triangle of the Indian Constitution because they provide a lot of fundamental freedoms to every citizen of the country, every Indian citizen. Now, Article 14 provides equality before the law. The state shall not deny any person equality before the law or equal protection of law within the territorial limits of India, or prohibition on the grounds of race, caste, religion, sex, or place of birth. Then Article 19 gives the Indian citizens a lot of freedom. The protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech and expression. All citizens have the right to freedom of speech and expression, to assemble peacefully without arms, to form associations or unions, to move freely throughout the territory of India, to reside and settle in any part of the territory of India, to practice any profession, or to carry on any occupation, trade, or business. Finally, the Supreme Court also talked about Article 21, which is of course 2/3 of the golden triangle of the Indian Constitution. Article 21 provides protection of life, personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of his personal liberty except according to the procedures established by law. So, every couple that wishes to marry by their choice is practicing these articles, the freedom that is provided to them by these articles. So that is why the court intervened and it has given this judgment. And definitely because of the guidelines provided by the Supreme Court, we might see a drastic decline in the number of honor killings or honor crimes in the country. So this was the complete analysis of Supreme Court's verdict on Khap Panchayat. Thanks for watching this video. God bless you all.